If you haven't already been able to watch the earlier clips, then I really suggest you do head back if you're beginning here and start back there at number 1, as there's a progression in this series that's important, at least in the earlier ones of these, and this is one of them. So otherwise they may not make as much sense if you haven't seen them in that progression. And equally, there's a development of skill that's also really crucial as you go forward in this little series. And I hope you've also had a chance to practice some of the really simple skills and become a little more familiar with them. As you begin to upregulate your sensitivity and your ability with all of this, what are you noticing? Both about the world, how you're feeling in the world, and also about how you habitually function in it. As I've said many times, feeling more is a crucially important life skill that also helps us better read the world and also our programmed responses in it, our habitual responses in it. Having that data means we can then begin to make better and more appropriate choices and decisions. And it enables us then to start reprogramming any of the unhelpful or unskillful behaviors and responses and so forth that we have. We bring them to the surface through our embodiment, our feeling senses of our embodiment. It all begins with embodiment. The body holds the key. So far, we've covered grounding and explored those 3 awarenesses of extraception, interoception, and proprioception. And here, we're going to build on all of this and explore centering. Now, we need these others in place, particularly the grounding, for anything to be centered, of course, to be in balance, to be centered, to be that sort of orientation. It must do so in relationship to its base. There is a relationship between the base and gravity as well, of course, that allows something to be balanced and centered, right? Of course, gravity is very important in here. So often we also use balance and center as metaphors for our psychological states, such as when we say, oh, that really knocked me off balance, or I feel a little bit lost and uncentered in this new job of mine. Yet, I'm going to suggest it isn't really such an abstract comparison. Becoming more psychologically balanced generally begins with our embodiment, becoming more balanced in our body because of the deep interconnection between body and our mental states and our psychological states. We become more balanced in our mental states, in our psychology. So let's just do a little practice with that. And perhaps just first of all, find your place of ground, find your base. And you know how to do that. It's simply just take a moment. You might want to adjust your posture if you need to. Most of all, just feel the ground, really land in the ground. Sometimes it's nice to not have socks or shoes on so you can really feel the ground, even if you're outside on a floor. Now feel the ground through the feet, through the backs of the legs if you're sitting, through the sit bones, through the butt, whatever it is that is giving you that sense of that groundedness. Breathe and land fully with that. Being with the interoceptive knowing of the extraceptive pressure at these lower places. So now the awareness has been down there, open the awareness up and just bring it up to an awareness of the whole body. See if you can have a sensing into the whole body as well. Not as though you're kind of externally looking at the body, but you're really feeling the whole body internally. It's proprioceptive, interoceptive sittingness. And it's your interoception and proprioception that allows you to know that relationship to the ground, okay? And just note, as you check in with the ground, you notice the body, that this wise, capable body naturally finds its place of center, right? Just does it automatically. If it didn't find its place of center, you'd be falling over, of course. So when the base is known internally, then being centered is a natural inclination and state of your body. Groundedness, recognize that, will become more centered and balanced. And the other factor, of course, to note here is, I think, something a little bit magical, really. This unseen but felt force and experienced force that we call gravity. And without that, we'd be free floating, wouldn't we? but from the grounded base. Balance and center is part of this whole relationship, bound up in this really profound force. And that this force, this relationship that we're feeling in our groundedness and centeredness, is actually emblematic of our own relationship to a much bigger body, the body of our planetary home. Some call it Gaia, some call it Mother Earth. But this is also a way of registering all of that. This body connected to that body and this magical force, and in fact, to all bodies. All bodies who live on it. Take a moment just to sense into this. And it all begins here, just feeling internally into the grounded, centered nature of the body. So just take a breath or two, deep breath in and out. Just registering that. Grounded, centered. How are you feeling psychologically as well as biologically now? A little more centered? A little more balanced? All right. So here's your practice. Until the next clip. See you then.